Chapter 12. Being content doesn't mean consent. Think of each level of growth as you would be growing up, as a child, teenager, young adult, middle age, and finally old age. Each level can bring insecurities but has potential to build confidence if explored. Don't underestimate the negative energy of the mind. When you care only about your own feelings, become bold or arrogant, make high-risk choices, you fail to control your emotions, or your ego and stubbornness consume you. All of these crutches can be conditional responses if you don't take a hard look at yourself and work on it. Like athletes training for a big event, do we as adults really know why and how to value the moment enough to do it? When it matters and when it doesn't. Our discipline to do something out of muscle memory can be good and bad for us. Bad habits follow muscle memory too. Condition yourself with healthy discipline and your mind will thank you. We are conditioned even at a young age, so don't be alarmed when you find yourself struggling to see your own struggle. A story for reference comes from youth basketball with 20 crazy parents yelling, "Shoot it!" even though there are 5 kids on them and they are 20 feet away from the basket. They are conditioned to shoot it. Doesn't have to be a good shot, just throw it up. It's better than no shot. As you become an adult, your terrible conditioned actions are obvious to everyone but you. Just like life, it's a process, but we usually make things more difficult. We fail to see our surroundings when we are surrounded by pressure, so naturally we panic. Facing what is conditioned is tough because we seldom realize what's holding us back. Again, it may be completely obvious to everyone around us, but because it's ingrained in us, we don't see it. Meditation and self-awareness help you draw those conditional monuments out and get rid of them for good. Many still thrive in the chaotic and dysfunctional environment. How is this possible? It's a high for them. It feels good to be needed, to help people, but just like a drug, it can become addictive. You find ways to be even better, but the question is it sustainable? Many will go 10, even 20 years before they realize they don't want to do it this way anymore. Slowly but surely, the weaker become more dependent. You shine while they feed off your ego, meeting their small basic needs, yet depleting your energy one piece of you at a time. It takes a lot, so you continue to dig deeper, usually at the expense of your own health. The change happens when you realize you can't be you if you're being a slave to everyone else. This constant conflict will repeat itself, so are you really using your gift? You're getting paid to do the job, so it works as you take care of your family, but I know there's something inside of you saying, this isn't where I want to be. I can do so much more than staying on this average level. You need to set boundaries and make barrier known even if it hurts some feelings. It can be respectful, but just as they have expectations for you, you have expectations for them. What do you really care about? We chase happiness with the hope of being content. We want more, but do we really want what comes with it? We see where we are now. We understand the need to get out of our comfort zone, but then we start planning out how it will feel in the end, again chasing what makes us happy and not what drives our passion. What we care about leads to fulfillment. Your vision must be meaningful and progressive. You must be like a starving wild dog on a pile of meat thrown in front of you. Your vision and pursuit must be savage. Each move, each thought, each situation must be centered around that small voice that says you were made for more. Your plan is bigger than your current situation, and you must push yourself out of all the what-ifs. Create energy to create life. Don't live in yesterday. Create tomorrow by living today. We don't know exactly how things will go, and sometimes it feels pointless, but it's worth it. We don't always understand it or know why it has to be this way, but life is worth living for. Why do we not hear stories about the one who is out chasing their passion at all cost, but at home the spouse is raising kids, taking care of the house, and picking up all the loose ends? We always hear the success story, but they leave out the part where you must continue to put just as much work into your family. Sure, you're making money and providing, but this dynamic can be very stressful. You will no longer learn along the way, but don't get caught up in thinking you don't have to work on your family because you're the breadwinner. The work at home is just as critical even if it doesn't receive a paycheck. Your grind, though, is real. Maybe you're going to night school, trying to get that trade certificate, or working double overtime. You spend all day dealing with adults, so by the end of the day, you're done, but your spouse has been at home with no adults and just wants to talk. That's the part that counts. That's the part that turns you into a man or a woman. That's the part that defines your leadership when you talk about your ownership and accountability. It starts at home. Your marriage and relationships will mean nothing 10, even 20 years from now if you don't work on you and your career and your family. One can't come before the other and expect harmony in your life. My wife and I know this firsthand. Raising 4 kids, childcare wasn't an option because of cost, and we didn't want to have someone else raise our children. We respected that the gifts we were given were ours to teach and mold. That if I needed to work more hours or a side job to keep money coming in, then I did. We made an agreement that it would relieve the stress on both of us if she stayed home and I worked. I enjoyed work. Can't say I would have rather been at home with those crying babies, but we made it work. We had some tough times because money is always going to be a conversation piece, especially when only one income is supporting a family of 6. We had our moments, and I can tell you I wish I had been more sincere and understanding about what my wife did to raise our babies. I took my responsibility to provide for our family very serious, but I also knew it cost a lot of money to raise a family. My advice to anyone out there that will be in this situation, currently in it, or anyone who has done it, tell your spouse thank you and show them how much you appreciate them. Servanthood is huge, especially when you realize you don't have to prove to your spouse that you are the authority. Work on balancing life by making time for yourself, time to just get away together, and time to laugh. My wife and I would split weekends on getting a break from the kids, so one would watch them and the other would go out with their friends. I can honestly say I wish we would have spent more time going on dates or talking about what we love about each other, or even where we saw ourselves in the next few years. We took our first alone trip away from the kids after 16 years of marriage. We had kids right after we got married, so that was a long time before we finally started working on each other. I regret not doing it sooner, but we just always felt we couldn't leave the kids with anyone, so we just fought through it. We didn't have the luxury of grandparents or close friends that wanted to take on 4 kids, so you could see our dilemma. I encourage you to make your marriage and your relationship strong. This doesn't mean taking advantage of grandparents or anyone who will watch your kids, but make sure you work on building a strong foundation at a young stage. Find compromise in what you disagree on. Each must find their own identity, but must be comfortable with each other's identity. We found our true peace when we realized that all the fights and silly setbacks were fake. Yes, fake. They were fruitless and were into entertainment purposes only. We were fortunate to have a strong marriage through all this because now 20 years later, it's proving to be more meaningful than it ever has. We are comfortable seeing each other happy in our own vibes, even if it's not with each other. The point is to understand how much your personal life plays into your role as a leader. So many leaders struggle at home and expect people to just follow them at work and life. Others think that because they hold authority at work, that they hold the same at home. My wife would constantly tell me, "I'm not your employee, you need to put your guard down at home." It happened to me, and it can easily happen to you. Recognize it, and marry someone who is bold enough to tell you so you can see life from many prisms. Just like anything, you put in the work now, and there will always be a reward. Be understanding and communicate at home, and your leadership ability will be stronger for it. I can tell you, after 20 years of marriage, my wife has provided me more balance, compromise, and perspective than anyone else could. We each have a role, and our personalities and how we handle life is best served when we do it together. We are all leaders of our own lives, so choose to work it out at all cost. We must make choices and weigh how these decisions will impact us for a lifetime, so there is no escaping that you will be a leader by design. There will be a point in everyone's life where they try to separate to find themselves, but completely miss how important it is to appreciate each side's gift to survival. This ultimately determines the level of success you can achieve. I compare this to what a man would do for a woman. No doubt, lust is always lingering, and you should avoid any temptation, but I'm talking about what a man would do to impress his woman. There is no limit or boundaries for this love, but when a man doesn't work on his relationship, that flame is gone, and that passion to pursue her dies along with it. Your spouse is not just a job or a checklist. I reference this because these issues are real. I've watched so many leaders with so much potential just fade into average because they didn't work on their relationships the same as they did their job. No matter who you are or where you are in your relationships, it's important to know they hold just as much value as gold. It's okay to be content with where you are in your life, but it doesn't mean you give consent to be average. More, however, just means more stress, more responsibility, and more work. The secret is simple. You can't let the feeling of being ambitious hinder your drive and passion. I used to think that I was selfish for not settling into what I had achieved, But I realized that being the dreamer I am, it is what fueled me. Not being content doesn't mean I don't appreciate what I have. It just means that I'm ready for the next challenge in my life. Each challenge that I faced and overcome has built me a little stronger each time. It's why I can say in my early 40s, I've mastered what most won't find until the end of their life, if ever. I knew deep in my heart that I can't pursue what I'm truly passionate about, trapped behind the walls someone else built to keep me in. I refuse to live out my days in regret. Going for it will cost more pain, more suffering, more stress, but it will always present a reward. The reward, though, isn't a first-place prize or a duffel bag full of cash. No, it's becoming a man of integrity, a man who is at peace with himself and spiritually in one of the strongest places you can be. This has significantly improved my marriage, my relationships, and my leadership. I'm 100% comfortable with who I am and what I'm capable of. This is what it makes a dangerous man, because I respect all things valuable and I demand respect back. I'm a God-fearing man, and that makes me wiser knowing I'm not alone. This didn't come overnight, so I want to continue sharing how you can get out and where this point is now. This place is calm when stars are shining, but raging when the storm hits. It's a foundation of something bigger than me that allows me to be who I was created to be. A comfortable and confident man knows no boundaries and will continue to enrich everyone's lives around him. I know there is a traditional way to lead, but things have changed. People respect a traditional leader who will do whatever it takes and will put people first. They will continue to support that leader, but it's fruitless if your dreams are bigger than your current situation. I hate speaking about the millennial generation because there are some great people there, but there is truth to this because of how they were raised. There's a difference in my generation to the ones now. Kids aren't out on their own at 17 or 18. They aren't working side jobs to help take care of themselves. They are working to buy the next $200 pair of shoes because all their bills at home are taken care of. Many in this generation have everything, but are not taught some strong work ethic, and then try to step into the leadership roles and fool themselves into thinking they have it figured out. They fail to get advice from those who have paved the way before them through failure. They also fail to put their egos to the side so that they can continue to grow. Naturally, they fade because they aren't built to handle the stress when the expectations are raised. I use this as an example because I've seen it firsthand. Just as any leader becomes great, they overcome the circumstances they were put in by true self-development and understanding of what maturity looks like so that they can apply it in their life. Having a rapid tongue to destroy every conversation or hiding in the shadows to avoid conflict only makes your leadership fall further and further behind. The hole will continue to dig itself deeper if you don't understand the core values of what it takes to be a great leader and build a strong foundation. What would you do with your life if everything was taken care of? Meaning you had your needs met and you could start doing whatever it is that you wanted to do day after day, night after night. Why do you need everything taken care of for you to go after it? Start today and decide you will follow it. No plan has ever been perfect, so get the ball moving and find out how tough you really are. Drop the 1,000-yard stare, shut your mouth, and make it happen. If you have no plan in place, then plan on not going into a bigger and better place. Many will abuse your ability because they don't have to think for themselves. I've been guilty of setting the standard and expectation and teaching down to the detail. Don't know, though, how to turn it off, having high expectations. I'm in love with results, so I demand it directly and indirectly, so naturally I must be involved. Keep a distinct separation so you can lead from above and within, but not down on their level. This takes time, so if you find yourself ingrained in the details, start etching out a plan to pull yourself back and allow the team to thrive off of what you've taught them. I've always had a constant battle in my life trying to understand what being content means. I found that my daily life structure does fill a void, but for some reason, it doesn't meet my needs. I still have that little voice that torments me by saying you have what it takes. Take that huge leap of faith. I'm very blessed and thankful every day, but I find myself surrounded by average and content people. This is no disrespect to those people, but at some point, if you want to elevate yourself to higher levels, you must stop doing all the work for the ones who don't want to change. The needy and desperate tend to be very good at playing the abusive game with you. They just never seem to figure it out or understand how to take it on their own. So little by little, they bleed a little more out of you. You have a responsibility to lead everyone you come in contact with, But if you are not being true to yourself, then you will be consumed with these people. You will find yourself less motivated and your energy drained because it doesn't align with the universe you are calling to. You need to be surrounded by people who are hungry and passionate about making every minute count. If you feel your situation is trivial or not inspiring you, then find a way, dig deep inside, and ignite a passion that will ultimately lead you out. This is the art of positioning, and when it happens, you will be astonished by its power. You will question why you didn't do it sooner, but as mentioned several times, things take time and you learn to get better with each breaking moment. The soul-searching process can change lives because it touches a part of the heart and mind that is seldom experienced. I assure you, you won't find it in those who are comfortable taking advantage of your gifts and talents. I often relate this to a relationship with my daughter, who is very headstrong. With the help from my wife and good friend who raised 3 girls of his own, they were able to keep me in check. I was parenting the same way I was coaching my leaders not to be. I assumed it would go smoothly because she had the inexperience and I had the authority. I had to change my approach though. Grown adults get grace. Why would it be any different for my teenage daughter? I even have grace, yet my 13-year-old daughter doesn't. Instead of trying to change her to be how I thought she should be, I shifted to the little details that would turn her into that respectful, talented woman I knew she could be. I focused on confidence and helping her through those insecurities. I reminded her of her unique gifts, great moments, and how she handled tough situations. The hardest part is to let her be herself, but understand the boundaries and why. We tend to say, do it because I said, and there's a time and place for sure, but you must be engaged with them. If not, when they grow up and get authority as adults, they will try to force answers from people around them. It will be a reaction rather than a behavioral control. They can learn from what and should listen when you should stand up for yourself. Continuing the discussion of being content, I almost met my match. I was once asked, "Who are you?" They then said, "I want to know who you are." It took me a second because I was used to being the one asking all the questions. I responded with, "I am Matt Wireman. There's no one else like me. The things I've gone through, experienced, loved, and lived for can't be matched. I'm a servant at heart, and I try to empower and elevate every place I go. I'm an amazing person, and people gravitate toward me, and I believe that's because of my empathy. I can relate, and I'm approachable, but I set expectations and boundaries that help not only myself, but everyone around me reach their higher potential. My goal is to enrich everyone's lives around me no matter where I'm at or what situation I'm in." A little long-winded, but if you're not happy with who you are, then how do you expect anyone else to appreciate you? Self-respect goes further than most realize because it's who you are without trying. The face and personality you are at any given moment when it's not rehearsed. That's the person people gravitate towards and fall in love with. When you have self-respect, people usually are drawn without even recognizing it. They need your energy to keep their hope alive. Be cautious of your gift and your time. They are at the highest value when you don't let others take advantage of them. I want you to think of the innocence of a child, the love and free spirit they have, and then they become adults. As adults, life gets harder. They settle and slowly die inside and spend so much time surviving that they don't know who they are. My nephew was at my house once, and I was making a new bathroom where our old workshop was. We had a big cabinet full of toys, and believe it or not, we would throw them away every year and somehow the bin would stay full. He came over, and at 3 years old, we were showing him the bathroom, and he ran right to the corner where the toys used to be kept. Just think about that impression and that memory of what that box of toys meant to him. When it was moved, he didn't know what to do. Most adults fall into this same pattern of having endless joy defeated as they get older and took life head on. Their minds can be easily filled with hate, jealousy, insecurities, or even from their parents' drama, or maybe no correction on behavior to teach discipline. Maybe some great teaching moments were missed during their formative years where a strong standard and respect for themselves could have been set. When confidence and courage is depleted, that whisper of evil will start to work, and it works well. When we are in a vulnerable place trying to find ourselves, we tend to fall for the voice of failure every time. Your goal is to place yourself on the outside looking in so you can gain control of perspective. Each time your mind is ambushed, you should be on guard waiting with a ready sword. This spiritual mind battle is more real than most will give credit to it. This is why we live in the deepest, darkest places of our minds, because we forget that our greatest creation is the ability to push out the poison and own what is rightfully ours. Imagine being lost at sea. Do you just drift and see where it takes you, or do you start paddling? Being stranded in the middle of the ocean, how long do you paddle? That environment would be harsh with no food, water, and not much available for you to use your skills. You have strength, you are motivated, but you're stuck in the middle of somewhere and nowhere. Life is about piecing together small details to support the end goal. Sometimes that end goal is just to survive, but never giving up on hope. Don't be the one who gives up on your situation. You don't have to frantically paddle to nowhere, but you must believe better days are ahead. The mind is funny because we work so hard to survive. It usually costs more to live life than what's coming in, and naturally debt starts taking over and consumes your priorities. Money management and understanding wants versus needs are just as important. The goal is to not put yourself in financial burden at a young age. You need to invest your money, save, or find ways to further your family's lives, but not to where it becomes a burden. Money is a huge reason why relationships fail. Add that on top of our impulses, we quickly find ourselves deeper in debt with no end in sight. Imagine being very responsible and all of a sudden life happens, whether it's a hospital visit or to provide for basic needs, but there's never enough coming in. You want to make enough money to raise your family, but you don't want to be gone the entire time trying to make money. Being gone means you miss your family and your kids growing up. Many work hard and look forward to the time or the day they can do nothing or do something that they want to do. Where does your dream fit in the middle of the stress to provide and take care of your family? To still take care of your family, or take trips, or just to make memories, to be at their important events, but still have enough time to meet the high demands of being an overachiever. When you have a strong relationship with your spouse and you teach your children along the way, it's okay to help them also understand what sacrifice means. There are so many things pulling families apart that the guilt of missing something can eat you alive. We tell horror stories of when we were kids and parents were nowhere around, yet we turned out to be amazing. The point is that as long as you face it, you own it, and you do everything you can to be a part of it, that one moment or those missed events won't be devastating to your children or to your spouse. It's a mutual understanding of what must happen, but you have your priorities in line. I believe the devil is always at work, and when we allow thinking that we can't miss anything, then we have missed the point of love. Love doesn't mean coming to the rescue every single time. It is knowing you have someone there who will always be there and will always jump in when it's their call to action. When your family knows your sacrifice and you're open to talk about it, a deeper relationship is created. You teach them how to be honest and show them how to be respectfully handle the responsibilities of life. So, what does not giving consent mean? We battle our conscience over being content, not because we're not thankful or grateful, but because a determination that we can't turn off. There are a few of us that have such conviction for our vision that we sometimes get caught up in our own turmoil because we're not there yet. And the day we realize just how truly gifted we are, we tend to box ourselves up, trying to narrow down where we want to put our energy and our time. It's what we lacked for many years, even though we had success following us. We didn't really understand how to use our time. Now that we are older and wiser, we want to make the next big moves count and get the most value from our decisions. It's what growth looks like, and proof that you are learning from your experiences because you want the next phase of your life to be more impactful and meaningful than the last. This isn't a bad place to be, but again, does it bear fruit? The name of the game isn't to try to define every detail like it's a finish line. If you are creating your own future, then you must also look forward to what you will create, which is usually not known. Your goals that drive you or your motivation, your wire fire, shouldn't change. We will learn more about wire fire in the later chapter as well. I have a huge motivational drive and a responsibility for my time on this earth. Not giving consent means I understand that I get one shot at this lifetime, and I will pursue my passion. I will be content by having my priorities in line and maintaining healthy relationships, but I won't consent to being average. That motivation never changes. That motivation never turns off, but everything we do in between, that's the part I'm creating. That's the part you get to create. Philippians 4:12. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want.